Don't get too close to me, Colin. Colin was born in Dublin, so he doesn't mind an ale or two. And trained by legendary Raymond Blanc. Colin was an executive chef at the Four in Hand for over 10 years. Colin's creative yet refined take on the nose-to-tail food philosophy turned his unassuming pub dining room into an awarded and celebrated dining destination. Colin's second venture, 414, reimagined family meals that he had in his youth. Colin then opened Baxia Bistro, took over the kitchen operations for Terminus Hotel, Pelmont. Both venues sees him return to the love of pub dining. In 2019, sees him extend his pub kitchen empire to include the Miranda Hotel and Southern Shire. Colin's opinions and honesty also led him to appear as a judge in Channel 7's ratings winner, My Kitchen Rules. I should be on that show. His profile of a no-nonsense chef keeps growing, which has led to him putting out his own show, Colin's, how's it pronounced? Ireland or Ireland?
Ireland.
Ireland. Ireland. That's right. Every Irish person wants to be a Greek.
Except one.
Thanks, John. And the cookbook for kitchens. So please join me in welcoming Colin Fassnidge.
Thank you. Welcome ministers and ordinary people. Very important night, so I'm not really sure why I've been asked to come. Maybe someone fell out. But my daughter has given me a few notes, so obviously the sandwich bag with the post-its. This is my 8-year-olds taught me how to do it, and to do it for school. And basically I was just told, tell my story and see if it resonates. If it doesn't, it's a pretty bad story. My life. So I'm a chef. I do this other TV thing, which pays better than chefing, as you all know, because chefing doesn't pay. How did I start? I wrote down love. Parents, Irish families, everything resonates around the kitchen table. Whether you've been suspended from school or you haven't gone to school, you'll talk about it at night time over the dinner table. My parents were great cooks. My mother was a great cook. My father was a great cook. He cooked on Wednesdays and Sundays, so he had his certain recipes he did. And back then, this is pre what they call the internet, men didn't really cook, especially in sort of Irish households. It was seen as a female's job to cook. And I like to sort of refer to the movie Billy Elliot, because I wanted to be a chef, and the kid in the movie wanted to be a dancer. So you don't say it out loud, because back then you wanted to be an accountant or and cooking. To be a chef was a bad job. It was basically you failed in life to be a chef. And when I went to school, Christian Brothers in Dublin, they basically told me that anyway. So just sit down the back for 5 years, because if you want to be a chef, we don't want to talk to you. So I did sit down the back for 5 years, and many beatings later, that's you're not allowed to do that anymore, apparently. Later on, I went to a TAFE for a year, what we call TAFE in Ireland, which was after leaving somewhere we told you don't cook, and cooking is a bad thing and it's a bad job, to go into a place like a TAFE, and they embraced it. And it was the first time after leaving secondary school I was happy, I would say. I got to cook all day. I got to learn to cook. I was around like-minded people. And after leaving TAFE, I went to DIT, Dublin Institute of Technology, for 2 years, which is a full-time cookery course, cookery school. You went 5 days a week. You did French, economics, science, hospitality, and they even made chefs be waiters. So we see the other side. But we learned the whole business, and we learned pride in what we did. We learned respect and structure. And then, obviously, we got our city and guilds, and then the cards were good. Then I left. I worked for a guy called Kevin Thornton. He got a 1-star Michelin with 4 chefs. I was one of the 4, but I was also the dishwasher at the time as well. And 4 of us, well, they got the 1-star Michelin, but I was part of the group. So after that, he got me a job with the world-renowned Raymond Blanc in Oxfordshire. So Raymond is still alive, and he's we'd start at 7 in the morning, we'd finish at 1 at night. I've never seen ingredients or a kitchen like it. There was 35 chefs in the kitchen. A lot left on a regular basis that just disappeared. We didn't know where they went. But I mean, when I spoke about love from learning to cook, when I went to work in this 2-star Michelin with Raymond Blanc, it wasn't about love. You fell out of love and you learned rigor. It was like the army, but you learned to cook and you learned to clean a lot. So that was a big one. And then, because I loved pain and punishment so much, I went to work with another man called Gordon Ramsay. So, it pays well. And it was just, that's all I knew. So another year after that, and then I moved to Australia for a holiday. So like most Irish people, I came on a holiday, still here. But I did come on a plane, not a boat. Sorry. But I am a citizen. I'm a proud Australian citizen. I've been a citizen for 10 years. I've been in Australia for 20 years. I started at a restaurant called Bank in Martin Place. It's called Bank, but it went bust, so I worked that out. Great restaurant, Liam Tomlin, 3 hats at the time. Stunning crew, and this is part of the story I'm trying to get across. The crew in that restaurant, it was pre-Olympics, 1999. Sydney had just exploded. The culinary industry, the hospitality industry was on fire. Like, there was so many, I would say, immigrants like myself, Irish immigrants, English coming in. The kids in Australia were cooking. 9 out of the 12 chefs in Bank were from Europe, because they'd come from that structured system. A lot of Aussie kids came up through the ranks, and now some of the most famous chefs in Australia. So after the Bank went bust, I went to a little pub, being an Irishman, called the Four in Hand. We're sort of drawn to the pubs, the Irish, but I was there to cook, and there was a big uproar, as in I got 2 hats in a pub, which was, we actually made the news, Channel 9, because we got the same as the Opera House in our area. Hi Neil. Actually, when I came to Australia, Neil Perry actually turned me down for a job. He said I was too French and I probably wouldn't be able to cook. So, but here we are in Parliament House, giving my speech. So, as I said, I came to Australia on a plane, 1999, Irish immigrant, didn't know what I was going to do, $500 in my pocket. The industry was just taking off. I applied, I got my job at Bank, I applied for my 457 visa. I got it within 8 weeks. So there was so much, the people just wanted chefs here, so I got my 457. 2 years later I got my residency. And it was just, you know, I think the training I'd had from my TAFE and my college had paid off, and Australia wanted people with training. And so the thing was, when I've taken over my businesses and I've noticed about training, I'm like, how do I inspire people in my business? Because for years, wondering, working under all these lunatics, Ramsay and Blanc, I was a very angry chef, and I came to Australia, and when I opened Four in Hand, I was part of the problem, because the old school chefs were a lot of the reason that the young chefs left, because the industry was so hard. It's, you know, you don't have weekends, you don't see your friends. The industry's got the highest drink, drugs, alcohol, divorce, not yet, but it's got the highest. It's an industry that after dark is when our people are out, so they're like vampires. And well, it's, you know, because we work all day, we work all night, and it's a huge problems in our industry. So I said, when I can't shout about being no chefs, how can I fix it? So we do programs in Ultimo TAFE and Ride TAFE. Like a lot of chefs like myself have got a bit of PR behind them, and they do it for free to get kids back into the industry. We've started at Oz. I work with Ronnie Khan. I'm an ambassador with Ronnie Khan for Oz Harvest, One Meal, Are You OK, and the Imperfect campaign. So what we do is we feed the homeless every Saturday night 2 wet dishes from the restaurant. So they'd come pick it up and they'd go to the park in King's Cross. And then once a week we get an apprentice to go dish out the wet dish, and I'd go as well with my kids whenever I could. And it's amazing getting involved in a waste program, when the kids come back and they've fed someone who lives on the side of the road, my kids, when they fed, were like, that man lives in a box. And I'm like, you know, you don't realise how lucky you are. But my apprentices, when they came back, had a different mindset to waste in the kitchen. And obviously it's good for business as well, but in this day and age we shouldn't have any waste. And then there's the other issue in our industry of suicide and depression, drinking, drugs. And just last week I lost one of our employees to suicide, and Jeremy Straub, one of my best friends 2 years ago. And it's just, I think colleges and TAFEs need to take this. We need to have sort of a recourse of how can we get our kids through this and know what's coming, and if it is bad, how do you share? And I think we're a lot better now. So I think that's what we're trying to do to inspire. Industry now, I think our industry is in a pretty bad place, as in the kids coming from TAFE. We need more kids going into the TAFE. We need them going into the education. We don't want to lose them through the net, because I looked on Seek last night. There's 9,000 jobs, industry jobs on Seek last night, and that's not going to go down by the end of the week. And that's just hospitality jobs. Like, that's chefs, we can't fill them. It's a $45 billion industry, and I don't know of any other sort of, if it was a business, we'd be shut down, I reckon. Like, the auditors would be in, if it's worth that much money and we've got no one to run it. But then again, like, I'm doing stuff for Tourism Australia, and I was in Lord Howe Island. It's a tough gig, but I had to do it. And then I was in Queensland promoting Australia and tourism, but there's no one to back it up. There's no one in the kitchens, and with the visas now, like, we can't get people in. We need to get the kids through the schools, through the TAFEs. So I think we've got tough times ahead, and there's a lot of ministers here who can make it less tough, I reckon. But I mean, I think you should know that the struggles that the restaurant world is going through, and we need to just, I don't know, work together. And then, what's my last note that my daughter gave me? Hospitality. So we started with love, and the reason I'm here, and I'm sure most of the recipients tonight of the awards, it's not a job. It is a job. We need to pay the mortgage, we need to pay the bills, but we didn't get into cooking because it was a job. We got into hospitality because of love. Sometimes you fall out of love, but it's all we know how to do. And I'm honoured to be speaking here tonight about my passion and what I do. But it is love. But next time you sit at a restaurant and you get served, just sort of think about the whole story of how it got there and the struggle, because the struggle is real. But remember, hospitality and love. Thank you.
One more applause for Colin, because, you know, it really works from the heart. Thank you, Colin.
Yeah, we need to replicate Colin, one for every high school in the country to give that speech at assembly every week, I think. Thanks again.